is and how it specifically can be applied to business and community settings. You're going to hear from a Business and Community Harvest of the Month participant, North Valley Food Bank, and then we're going to go over resources and a few upcoming events, and we'll also have some fun activities sparsed in there. So I'm Molly Kirkham. I'm the Montana Local Food Specialist at the National Center for Appropriate Technology. And presenting today is going to be Kristen Shepker, the Program Manager at North Valley Food Bank. So let's get started with the Harvest of the Month basics. These are our project partners. They help with things like reviewing the portal, materials, helping with mini grant programs, getting the word out. They upload events to their sites. And that's about it. We have quarterly meetings to discuss the direction of the program. So what is Harvest of the Month? The Montana Harvest of the Month program showcases Montana grown and raised foods in Montana schools, institutions, organizations, and businesses. The two primary goals of this program are to promote local healthy foods to Montanans and to support Montana farmers, ranchers, and food businesses. Each month, participating sites focus on promoting one locally grown item by serving it in at least one meal, snack, or a la carte offering, and displaying or distributing Harvest of the Month materials. Additionally, schools and early care and education settings participate by offering taste tests to students and doing educational lessons and activities. So I think it helps to have a little timeline of how everything works. After you decide you want to join the program, you register on the portal. You can do that at any time of year, although our program year does go from August to July. You could register in like June if you wanted to. Once you register, you gain access to the portal, which has all of the materials, guides, and resources in the digital format. Then, in order to receive your materials, you must complete the baseline survey. It is sent to you in the welcome email, and you can also find it on the portal under the reports tab. Then you begin showcasing the item, however works for you. And at the end of the program year, you must complete the end of year report to re-enroll in the program and receive any of the new materials we created that year. And then say you register late in the program year and have only been doing Harvest of the Month for a few months and don't feel like you have enough feedback to do the end of year survey, then you can just let me know and we'll just mark you as good to go. And then you can complete it the next year to re-enroll. So in your packet of materials, the one that we mail to you, you will receive posters, handouts, and table tents. However, we don't have table tents for each item. It all depends on what funding we have for that particular item. So if you receive them and it looks like you're missing a few, you probably are, but it's meant to be that way. And then on MontanaHarvestOfTheMonth.org, you gain access to recipes, printable recipe cards, Harvest of the Month videos, including a recipe video. Oh, I think
I'm in a webinar.
Tammy, are you muted?
Yeah.
Thanks. So where was I? So you receive the Harvest of the Month videos, Farm to Cafeteria guides and resources, Harvest of the Month in action, which just shows how other sites have implemented it and can be a great tool to look through to see how you might want to do it. And then relevant events and funding opportunities. And you can always contact us for technical assistance. And we have other opportunities in our monthly newsletters. And we also post on the site about our mini grant programs. So this is what one of the pages looks like. You only have access to these pages when you log in. So you have to be registered for the Harvest of the Month as a participant to access these. On the left, you can see all the different materials Harvest of the Month offers. These are posters, handouts, newsletter content, table tents, signs, menu templates, graphics, and then we will go through what a few of these look like. So here is an example of the poster on the left. It comes to you 18 by 24, but we do have different sizes that you can print online. And then next to that is an example of what the table tent looks like. It's a small thing you just set on the table, and that's the back and the front of it. And then there are 3 different types of handouts that you will receive in the mail. All business and community sites receive the cafeteria, classroom, and home handouts. This is the cafeteria handout, and it includes fun facts, storage, selection, recipes, cooking and gardening tips, and nutritional information. These are great to have displayed in the cafeteria or cafe, anywhere where you're serving food or people can pick up food. And then the Harvest of the Month at Home handouts are for sites to hand out to folks to take home. You do only get one copy of each of the handouts by mail, but they are available for print, and you can copy them if you'd like to distribute them. And then this is the Classroom Bites handout. It's pretty similar to the cafeteria handout, but it does have an activity for like schools and such to do. So that is all that's available that we send to you tangibly. And so this is on the left, we do offer menu templates that you can download in a Word document and then edit yourself. If you have like a cafeteria menu, you can use this if you're showcasing herbs. And then on the right is a serving line sign that can be printed and displayed. These are recipe cards that can be uploaded to your site, used in your newsletter or social media, or printed and distributed. And on the back of these is a cute little herbs graphic. This is the newsletter and social media content document. It's this is full of ready-made posts for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or your newsletter. We create these for sites to be able to easily incorporate Harvest of the Month in their social media, newsletters, and websites. You're welcome to come up with your own content as well, or edit these how you see fit, but this is just so that you can easily post about your Harvest of the Month participation. And then this is the calendar this year. We do not change it every year, but if we create a new material, we tend to mix things up a little bit. For example, this past year, we created materials for herbs. So we added herbs to September and then took off winter squash. And while it's great to follow the calendar, if it works for you to switch something up or use a retired item, we do have all the materials on the site still. And you can just do whatever works for you. Like sometimes summer squash in August is much more easily accessible than cherries, for example. And then Harvest of the Month is offered for producers, healthcare, business and community, early care and education, and K-12 schools and after-school programs. We are going to talk specifically about the business and community requirements. Business and community is a broad category of many different entities with varying structures, so the requirements of the program will vary. Some serve food and participate in Harvest of the Month directly, such as grocery stores, food pantries, farmers markets, restaurants, and then colleges and universities. While others, like Extension, Food and Ag Development Centers, libraries, and other organizations implement Harvest of the Month through partnerships, events, and promotion. So the general requirements for the business and community sites are to form a team, showcase the item each month, promote to your outlets, and participate in evaluation. However, we know that not all business and community sites will implement Harvest of the Month the same. Your team should have a team lead, and we recommend including community partners such as MSU Extension, marketing professionals, your food service professionals, administrators, operations directors, and leadership. Any one of these positions can be the team lead. It's just the person who's taking the lead in Harvest of the Month. Showcasing includes serving in the cafeteria, grab and go section, produce section, or as a menu offering, and offering taste tests or samples, or hosting an educational activity. It's really whatever works for you. And then participating sites will also display and hand out materials, post on social media, put in their newsletter and on their website. It helps to just have it in a monthly newsletter, just have a section for it each time so that it's easy to remember. And then, as we talked about before, sites must complete the baseline survey after registration and then the end of your report to enroll in the program each year. This just helps us continue to apply for funding. And we know that not all business and community sites will look the same. I'm going to give you a few examples of how you might participate in Harvest of the Month based on your site. So restaurants and universities might participate by serving local foods and/or taste tests, hanging posters, and handing out recipe cards. University Extension and other organizations might work with schools and other community members to help implement Harvest of the Month through educational activities, taste tests, procurement, cooking classes, displaying posters, and distributing recipe cards and handouts. And they might join a school or preschool team or hold events and host booths for youths. Food pantries might host cooking classes, participate in local foods procurement and distribution, offer taste tests and Harvest of the Month activities, display posters, and hand out materials. Groceries can display posters, distribute recipe cards and handouts, offer taste tests, serve in a grab and go, and offer promotions or sales based on Harvest of the Month. And then farmers markets can contribute by displaying posters, handing out recipe cards and handouts, doing taste tests, and offering promotions based on Harvest of the Month. Sometimes other organizations will have Harvest of the Month booths at farmers markets. And then libraries have implemented Harvest of the Month by displaying and handing out materials, reading the Harvest of the Month books from our book nook, and hosting educational activities. And some of the libraries even do taste tests. So a little bit of the Harvest of the Month in action. Here is how University Extension and some partner organizations have implemented Harvest of the Month. The two photos on the left are of Harvest of the Month family cooking nights hosted by Disability, MSU Extension, SNAP Ed, Butte 4Cs, and 0 to 5. They hosted a series of 4 cooking classes over 4 months, and they showcased carrots, cherries, brassicas, and apples. I attended the cherry night, and it was so awesome. And then on the right is a photo of the Harvest of the Month Dairy Day at Whitehall School. That was hosted by MSU Extension, Madison and Jefferson counties. This event has happened in 2019 and 2022. And each event featured taste tests, a butter making lesson, goat milking, and an art activity using dairy. So these are a few examples of how food pantries implement Harvest of the Month. On the left is Kim Lloyd. She's serving up some leafy greens to showcase them at Helena Food Share. And then on the other 2 images are examples of sheets that Missoula Food Bank and Community Center has created to put in their kids' meal. They have Harvest of the Month item themed activities, recipes, and fun facts. And these are actually available on our site on the Harvest of the Month in action section for other people to download too. And then, like I said, farmers markets can participate in a variety of ways, such as this photo on the left shows kids at Helena Farmers Market painting with vegetable paints and vegetable stalks. This was at a booth that St. Peter's Health put on monthly at the Helena Farmers Market. And then the middle photo is O'Hara Commons online farmers market offering taste tests during pickup and distributing recipe cards. And then on the right is BLD Farms offering a little basil, tomato, and mozzarella appetizer in order to showcase the herbs that they grew and were selling at the farmers market that day. Do you guys have any questions about the business and community requirements? If not, we're going to go on to a little activity. Okay. So, oh wait, first let me tell you some recommendations. So we do recommend to form a team. We recommend to create a partnership with schools, organizations, food pantries, preschools, and producers. Ease into Harvest of the Month and do what you can. We like people to do everything monthly, but if that is not in your capacity at the moment, I think just register, and sometimes you're only able to hang up the posters or hand out some recipe cards, and that is okay. Document your Harvest of the Month activities with photos and videos. Feature Harvest of the Month as a monthly section in your newsletters. Make sure all staff know about Harvest of the Month because they might want to be involved. Some sites find it beneficial to create a consistent schedule of when they do taste tests, educational activities, or serve that local food. And then read the Harvest of the Month newsletters. There's a lot of good funding opportunities because we do offer mini grants a lot of the time. And then we make sure to scour the web to find other opportunities for our sites. And then follow us on social media. Harvest of the Month has a Facebook account. Abundant Montana is also great. Montana Farmers Union and Montana Farm to School will have a lot of opportunities listed in their social media. And then post on social media and tag #MT Harvest of the Month, or send your content directly to me to be posted on the Harvest of the Month in Action page. And then here are some resources. Of course, the portal, that's where you're going to find everything. And like I said, you must log in to get those monthly materials. And then the Montana Farm to School site will also have a lot of trainings, events, and funding opportunities listed. And if you're ever looking for local food, the Abundant Montana Find Food and Farms tool is amazing. Okay, now it's time for the Montana Grown and Raised Foods quiz, using facts from our Harvest of the Month handouts. So I'm going to ask a question, and then it's going to be multiple choice. And in the chat, you're going to type what you think it is, and I will reveal the answer. So these are the kind of things you learn from the Harvest of the Month handouts. Okay, Montana is the #1 domestic producer of what pulse crop? I'll give you a second. Okay. The answer is both A and B. Montana is the #1 producer of peas and lentils in the US and ranks 3rd in chickpea production. Great job. Which of these cherry varieties are native to Montana? All right. B, choke cherry. The flathead cherries are not a variety of cherry, but the name refers to all sweet cherries grown in that region. The flathead cherry industry was actually established in 1895. And then choke cherries are a shrub-like member of the cherry family that are native to Montana and most of the US and Canada. And Native Americans have traditionally eaten the fruit and used other parts of the plant for medicinal uses. So that was kind of a trick question. Okay, which of these vegetables is not a brassica? All right. Beets are not a brassica. Brassica is a genus or group of closely related plants in the mustard family, and this includes broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, collards, Brussels sprouts, and others. Which of these herbs grow wildly in Montana? All of the above. And then traditionally, mint tea was so commonly drunk amongst Crow people that one of the Crow words for mint is the same as the word for tea. And now I am going to introduce Kristen Shepker, the program manager at North Valley Food Bank, to talk about Harvest of the Month.
Thanks, Molly, and hi, everyone. And I just want to make a note that if anyone has any questions as I'm chatting about how we implement Harvest of the Month at our program site, please feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I will chat with you guys a little bit about how we do all things Harvest of the Month here at North Valley. So as Molly said, I am the program manager at North Valley Food Bank. You can, yes, perfect, thank you. We are located in Whitefish, but we serve the entire northwestern corner of the state of Montana. And without knowing exactly what kind of organizations you all represent, I would imagine we're not alone in this, but we have seen an absolute skyrocketing demand for our services over the last just about 3 years. So part of that kind of growth experience has involved us looking for new ways to add additional services to our the food access work that we do here at the food pantry. On that note, we do distribute food here at our location in Whitefish through both our community grocery store, and we also offer a drive-through service. But we also touch a lot of the neighboring communities through our mobile pantry program, which we facilitate in Olney, Trigo, and Essex, where we bring food out to those communities, and local residents come and meet us there and pick up food from us. We also do a ton of deliveries of food products to program partners in all the areas I have mentioned on the slide there, from Browning to Yak, Troy, Libby, Eureka. So we are a small but mighty and busy organization. As a complement to our food access services, we facilitate some additional programming, which includes a home delivery program to homebound community members, mostly seniors who live in the area but aren't able to come to the food bank to access our services here. We also are working on rolling out a whole host of food and culinary education initiatives. That's really where a lot of the Harvest of the Month programming comes into play for us. But sometimes that takes the form of activities that we do with youth and other customers. We do a lot of taste tests, like Molly was talking about, via sampling. We produced dishes and snacks and drinks for our customers to sample while they're accessing our grocery store. We are also working on building out a suite of programs for primarily for youth, but also families. We've been doing some really successful family dinner events that I've been able to incorporate some of the Harvest of the Month teachings into. We run a really robust summer meals program as well. And then we have a couple unique programs that focus on the really kind of hyper local food system, where we process wild game donations at this time of year when hunting season is open. And then during the summer months, we work with local farms to harvest and glean produce that otherwise wouldn't be sellable by the farms. So to talk a little bit more specifically about the Harvest of the Month program here at North Valley Food Bank, I wanted to share a few examples of what it looks like on the ground. Molly gave some really great examples of how some other programs have done it. So you may hear some kind of duplicated efforts, but then I think each program, one of the big lessons for me in implementing Harvest of the Month has been figuring out how to tailor it to our unique customers, our program, like the physical infrastructure of our site. So I'll get into a little more of that in detail, but I think one of the key pieces for us at our organization that allows us to successfully implement Harvest of the Month is that we actually have a line item in our food purchasing budget specifically for local foods. So our organization has decided that it is a goal of ours to spend money within the local food economy. So that's really helpful because we know that we have a portion of our budget earmarked specifically for this. And there's also a lot of kind of growing recognition on a broader level around the importance of feeding local Montana foods to Montana residents and families. So I think we're part of a bigger movement there too that's heading in that direction. But in terms of what it specifically looks like on the ground, we hang up the Harvest of the Month posters each month. I have some of them behind me on the wall in my office. Those are some of the older ones, but then we display the monthly poster each month in our community grocery store. Just to kind of clarify what I mean by that, we call it a store, but to be super clear, anyone who comes to access that is receiving the groceries that they select from the store for free. So it's a no charge grocery store, if you will. So we have the posters displayed in the grocery store, strategically placed right near the checkout line in the grocery. So everyone passes right by the table with the poster as they're exiting the grocery store, which is really cool. Oftentimes we will distribute, we love the Harvest at Home version of the handout that Harvest of the Month creates, because it's a really handy resource for us to be able to send folks home with from the grocery store. We also produce recipes. Sometimes we use the recipes that are provided, but oftentimes we actually create our own. And that's usually because of a few factors, including what's available to us at the food pantry, maybe what we have in abundance, or we just seek to produce recipes that are approachable, affordable, easy for our customers to replicate at home. So the recipes always go out each month. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, we do a lot of sampling. We have a commercial grade kitchen at our food bank. So in this photo, you're seeing, it's a roasted chickpea snack, which we made and served. And I believe we followed the Harvest of the Month recipe exactly on that one. And it was a huge hit. People loved it. We did this almost a year ago, and I still have people asking me about the chickpea snack. So that was super fun. And in this particular case, we actually purchased, I think we purchased like 500 pounds of dried chickpeas from Timeless Seeds, and we repackaged them to distribute the dried chickpeas as well to our customers, so they could take home, not only taste the snack, but then they could take home a bag of dried chickpeas along with the informational handout and the recipe. So really kind of equipping them with a little kit. Sometimes we actually build a more robust, like actual kit that has not just the Harvest of the Month ingredient, but also the other ingredients that would be needed to make the recipe that we're sharing out that week or that month. Molly talked about social media, but we try to photograph everything and post it on, primarily we use Facebook and Instagram with the Harvest of the Month hashtag. And then I also incorporate the kind of featured monthly foods into different kids activities and family events that we host as well. So why do we do this? It's definitely some extra work to produce all the materials, create the displays, make sure the signage is up and clear and fun. But we see it as a perfect fit with many aspects of the mission of our program. Our like actual mission statement is to build food security and strengthen communities. So we see this program as a perfect alignment with our mission to teach our customers ways that they can use ingredients in preparations they may not have thought about, educate folks on foods that are available right here in their backyards, and also to support the folks that we source this food from. When we spend money out of our food budget and it goes into another kind of segment of the local food economy, we see that as a win-win to everyone in our community, kind of strengthening our local food systems right here in and around Whitefish. Along with that, it's actually, we're in the process of updating our strategic plan for the next 3 years, and an increased focus on purchasing and distributing more local foods is built into our strategic plan. So again, this aligns really nicely with some of our organizational goals. And then on the program side of things, it's been my personal goal to implement educational programming, as I was saying earlier, as a complement to the food access work that we do. And this has, as I'm building that educational curriculum, Harvest of the Month was such a perfect kind of easy to use tool that I could kind of plug right into what we were trying to build, where we had nothing previously existing. So it was a great framework for us to start testing out. How do we display these materials? What do our customers want? How do we source this product? All that. So it was a great opportunity for me to kind of get my feet wet in the world of programming. Along with that, I've been using it as kind of a test for what we can produce in our new commercial kitchen. The size of the recipes, the ingredients we're able to bring in, all that. And then really my favorite piece of all of this is that facilitating Harvest of the Month has given me this, it's opened up this whole new world and way to connect with our customers, for me to have conversations with people about their favorite ingredients or recipes they took home. And it's been really amazing to get to see and experience that with the folks that we serve. I wanted to quickly touch on a couple of, I think, the most exciting outcomes that we've observed as we've been implementing Harvest of the Month for, I want to say about a year and a half now. I'm not totally sure, but more than a year for sure. The recipes are a big hit with our customers, whether they are recipes that we pull directly from the Harvest of the Month portal or ones that we create on our own featuring those ingredients. We just conducted a very large customer satisfaction survey. And I asked a question specifically about whether folks had been encouraged to take certain ingredients home from our grocery store based on having sampled that product in the store. And 70% of people who took our survey said yes, they took an ingredient home because of the sampling, which is, I was pretty thrilled to see such a high response rate on that particular question, because it made me feel like we're not just, there's a reason why we're doing this, and our customers are really appreciating and enjoying it. Participating in the program has also dramatically strengthened our relationships with some of our local food producers, both here in town and also in other parts of the state of Montana. We now have contacts with vendors that we either never purchased from before or who we were purchasing from at a much smaller scale. So that's been really awesome to get to know the food producers who, live and work right in our own backyard. And then another key piece has been watching folks learn about Montana foods. I'm glad Molly did that little survey before, or kind of the quiz about some of the Harvest of the Month fun facts, because the only reason I knew the answer to most of those questions is because I've been implementing this program for the last year. There's such an extraordinary wealth of knowledge that is available to us about what exists here in our backyards, but a lot of us don't know anything about it, including those of us who spend our lives in food. So definitely a great source of education and information. And we sort of see knowledge as power here at the food bank, whether it's teaching someone a new recipe or, teaching them to look out for ingredients that are produced right here in the state. That's been really cool for us. And that's the last piece I kind of wanted to touch on. As you are beginning to implement Harvest of the Month at your program site, I just wanted to share some of the potential roadblocks that we encountered and maybe troubleshoot a little bit on how you could overcome them. Budget is definitely a big one and pretty obvious. So as I mentioned, we're lucky to have a portion of our food budget earmarked for local food purchasing, but you'll want to have a conversation about that internally to be sure that that's the case. We looked at that overall annual budget and broke it up into chunks so that I knew each month how much money I had to work with. And some months we spend more, some months we spend less. So it's definitely a kind of a constant dance just to make sure that you have that funding set aside to purchase the ingredients that you'll want to either sample or distribute or however you go about that. Recipe development, if you utilize recipes other than those that come with the Harvest of the Month materials, you'll just want to make sure that you build in time to purchase the ingredients, test the recipes, sample them, tweak them, etc. Sourcing is a big issue for us. Like I said in the beginning, it was a little trickier. Now we have great relationships with some of our local producers, but building those relationships in the beginning took some time. We had to kind of explain to some of the folks that we buy from, like, we're part of this program, we're looking to purchase this food, but we really kind of need it this month and not next month. And so just kind of working through some of those constraints took a little bit of time in the beginning. I mentioned storage on this slide because it's a big issue for us at the food bank. We are kind of bursting at the seams and using every last little inch of storage capacity that we have. So just being mindful of, if you're going to bring in our case, 500 pounds of lentils, where are those lentils going to go? Do we have adequate storage space for them? And we want to make sure we bring them in time for that Harvest of the Month, for that month, but we don't want to bring them too early because then we have to store them and the logistics that come with that. The photographs that I have here on this particular slide are, this is a group of volunteers that is working to repackage 25-pound bags of lentils into smaller bags. We, similarly to the chickpea photo that appeared earlier in the presentation, we purchased the lentils in bulk and then repackaged them into 1-pound bags so that our customers could take some home with them if they wanted to. So just thinking about the time that is going to go into, whether it's repackaging or the preparation to cook a recipe or a sample for a taste test, just being mindful of time. And I threw on there materials as well. In our case, we had to make sure we had these green lentils on the screen are repackaged in a plastic bag with a sticker label. So it's simple, but these things take time and consideration, like making sure that we had all the plastic packaging, the sticker labels printed up, all that. And I kind of went slightly out of order, but in the same vein, just ensuring that you have a staff and or volunteer team that is aware of the program, knows what the goals are, and is able to help with some of these tasks, such as those are all volunteers that are in the photo there, repackaging that big bag of lentils. So shout out to them for helping us pull this off. And I think that is that. Happy to answer any questions now, or Molly, if it makes sense to save that to the end. I threw my contact information on there just in case anyone wants to contact me offline to chat through any of this in greater detail. I totally welcome folks to reach out to me anytime.
And yeah, if anyone has any questions, thanks so much, Kristen. You can ask your questions now. We have some time.
Cool. I may as well mention while we wait for a second for folks to think of questions. The photo that's on there is a picture of each year we do a local, each fall we do a fruit harvest where we send volunteers out into the community to pick fruit off of trees, primarily that are attracting wildlife like bears and deer. But this year it worked perfectly to do that along with our Apple Month. So we were actually able to distribute bags of super local apples to our customers, along with some of the samples that we did throughout Apple Month. We made a homemade apple juice, which people went crazy over. It was like literally just pressed apples, but it was these apples that we picked from trees in our own community. So I threw that photo on there because it's one of my favorite examples of a way that we have kind of tailored Harvest of the Month to fit some of our unique needs and constraints. And that was a really, really fun one. But that's almost 1,000 pounds of fruit from local trees that got picked on one day last September.
question. That's so awesome about the apples. And so do you normally source directly from producers, or is it like equal between producers and distributors or food hubs?
We're really kind of all over the map. That's a really good question. So I'm not sure what like geographical area the participants on this call represent, but we work a lot with Wicked Good Produce, which is kind of a local food hub in our area. They are also farmers, but they run a local food hub, and we have a really good relationship with them. So we will often purchase directly through them because they can source kind of all over the region. In other cases, I've had great success buying some of the pulses directly from Timeless, which we often will get through Western Montana Growers Co-op, so another food hub that we are using as kind of the vendor. And then in other cases, we're literally buying directly from local farms, especially, in the warmer half of the year that exist in our community. So we're going straight to the farmers and saying, hey, can we buy 20 cases of broccoli from you, or whatever it may be. So that may not be a perfect answer, but it's like a little bit, it's sort of month to month, a little bit of all of the above.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question for Kristen?
I have a question. This is Ashley. Hi, I should turn on my video. I'm over at Missoula Food Bank, and we don't have a commercial kitchen available to us. And I know you said you guys recently had that available. And so I was wondering if you have any advice. I've seen like a lot of the things that you've mentioned, having a commercial kitchen would be so helpful. And like, I've definitely thought of chickpeas and wanting to like partner with an organization possibly to like make that happen, but that just seems to be another barrier. So I wonder if, because that's a new thing for you guys, if you have any advice on how to do Harvest of the Month while like working around that barrier.
Yeah. Quick clarifying question. Do you have any kind of cooking equipment? Can you prepare food at all?
We have a kitchen. We do not have like a stove or oven to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's mostly like a prep space.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's definitely somewhat limiting, but I think there's still ways you can kind of creatively still facilitate the program. You could consider doing like a version of the route that we go, where we source and then just distribute the product as is. So for instance, like repackaging the dried lentils. It may not be quite as exciting to give it out with like a sample of a snack that can entice people to take it home. But we've actually found that that's super successful even without the samples. Having a nice display, and I mean, there may be an opportunity for you guys to do that at Missoula in your grocery store. If there's an area where you could have the Harvest of the Month materials and like the repackaged bags of chickpeas or whatever. But admittedly, that would be harder with some of the products. Let me think a little bit more about that, because it is, I don't want to say it's completely limiting, but you do have to, there are different considerations when you can't actually feed folks the food that you want them to try. But I don't think that means it's not doable. I think it would take a little bit of a different, it would just take a slightly different approach. But if I'll keep that in mind. And if I come up with something that seems like, oh my gosh, this would be a great fit, I can totally let you know.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
also have a question for Kristen and Ashley. So we've heard from classrooms that it would help to have like raw versions of recipes. So like simple prep, maybe it's just like chopping and mixing with like a salad dressing. Would that be helpful and some things you guys could do in a prep kitchen?
Yeah, potentially that could happen. Yeah, that's a good thought.
Awesome.
I could consider compiling a list of some of the recipes we've done, but as I'm thinking through it a little more, a lot of our recipes have actually been no cook. Like we did a raw carrot salad during Carrot Month that was just like grated carrots. mostly, you know, we made a dressing, but we didn't have to cook anything for that. So that could totally be done in a prep kitchen. And sometimes when that's where you would have to do a little bit of your own recipe research. Like it would be awesome if Harvest of the Month itself did provide some of those raw or no cook recipes. I think that would kind of open doors for a lot of the programs that are in this position. But I'll also throw it out there that like Google is an awesome tool. I use straight up Google searches for recipe inspiration all the time. So something to keep in mind.
Any more questions? Thank you so much, Kristen. That
Yeah,
was
my pleasure.
awesome. I learned a lot. And now we're going to finish with some Harvest of the Month true and false trivia. So I'm going to make you guys get out the chat again. And I'm going to quiz you on what you've learned today. So just type a T or an F based on what you think the answer is. Okay, sites can request as many poster packets as they need. Right. True. Let us know if you could use more posters and we will get them to you. We have a lot in our inventory currently. And then sites must follow the Harvest of the Month calendar. Oh, got it, Mackenzie. Thanks for letting me know. False. Do whatever works for you and use archived items too. Once I register for Harvest of the Month, I will receive the materials. False. You must complete the baseline survey. You also must complete the end of year survey to re-enroll in the program and receive any new materials. So once you register, we'll send you a link for the baseline survey. It takes like 5 minutes. You complete that and then we send you the materials. And that just helps us apply for more funding. And then I can email Molly and ask where to source Montana chickpeas. True or false? True. However, the Abundant Montana Find Food and Farms tool is also an amazing resource. And when you email me, odds are that's where I'm going to look. Harvest of the Month for business and community sites must perform taste tests. False, it's encouraged, but no worries if it doesn't work for your site. And then the 2 primary goals for Harvest of the Month are to promote local healthy foods to Montanans and to support Montana farmers, ranchers, and food businesses. Yep, true. All right, and then I just have one upcoming event to share with you. The Farm to School Workshop, Harvest of the Month for Rural Communities. I'm just going to read this to you. Join the National Center for Appropriate Technology, Farm to School of Park County, Gardner Schools, and partners for the first of 3 Farm to School workshops. This workshop will provide general training on Farm to School and Montana Harvest of the Month, as well as feature how Gardner Public Schools and Farm to School of Park County implement these initiatives. If you are a parent or organization interested in helping with taste tests, a food service director, in search of realistic recipes and local procurement strategies, an educator looking to align farm to school activities with curriculum, or a producer interested in working with schools and other institutions, this event is for you. And then you can register at the portal and then just /events, and you'll see a little tab for events on top of that page. So that is all I have. Are there any questions for me or Kristen, if you've thought of any questions for her?
Hi,
I
this
don't-
is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mackenzie.
So like I said, I missed the beginning, so I don't want to make you repeat yourself. But will you be sending like the recording of this or more information to follow about like how we would sign up?
So I will, this is recorded and I'll put it on the Harvest of the Month portal, and I can totally email the participants and let you know when it's uploaded.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to plug, I know Abundant Montana is hosting a virtual event in a couple weeks for helping people meet local farmers. So that might be a good option for this too.
Yes, thanks, Ashley. I think it's called Abundant Connections. And so you can sign up no matter how small your purchase is going to be. You can register for that and meet farmers in your area producing what you're looking for. And it's all virtual. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Kristen. You're the best. And Ashley, good to see you. And Mackenzie, good to hear from you. We were in the same AmeriCorps class, so.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Okay, have a good one, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.